Eagles Talk, A2D Radio. Yeah, we're not happy here, but we still got to talk about it. Eagles Bucs reactions and analysis. Don't worry, it's not just me. I got a few surprises for you, or not a few, just one. But we're here to talk about it. All right, so chime in. Let's go.
You love the Eagles, let me get a hell yeah! You love the Philadelphia Eagles, let me get a hell yeah! Philadelphia!
Eagles Talk A2D Radio. We are brought to you by Baggio's Bread, located in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, home of the best stuffed breads, tomato pie, sandwiches, cutlets, and meatballs. Make sure you mention A2D Radio for 10% off your in-store purchase. We are live. It's your boy Chucks. PY will be on in a few minutes. He's just running late from work. Les, as usual, will be on with us in a few minutes. Brinks is off today, but we've got one more returning from God knows where, God knows how long it's been. It's Mr. OG.
Guess who's the Zach, people? What is up? I missed y'all. I know you missed your boy. It feels good to be back. Hey, man, I got something to talk about now.
You do. You do. You got plenty to talk about, and I'm gonna let you get because you got so much over the past few months what do you call it? Held back Eagles talk. I'm going to let you just go off for all your rants today. So you have free reign for a while to talk as long as you need to, since this is your return. Plus, I'm watching the Seahawks game, so I don't want to talk as much right now.
Right.
So it's feel free to talk as long as you need to, or at least until PY unless joins us. But yeah, it's good to have you back. It's not the same without you. We both know. So glad to have you back, and hopefully this isn't the last time in the next several months we'll have you on the show. But yeah,
it definitely feels good to be back. This feels like it's right. You know, things happen such in life that come a little bit more important than the pigskin. But with that being said, it's like one of those things when you step away and then you miss it, and you really don't miss it, but then you start to get that gentle nudge. And the gift of the Eagles, man, just want to throw yourself back at the fire. And listen, I'm back. And it seems like last season, 2023, is back as well with the Philadelphia Eagles, because it's a little bit of the same old song. Yesterday, I don't know what it is in the Tampa atmosphere, even after Hurricane Helene. Shouts out to all the people out there that's given aid. I know the Glazer favorite gave $1 million to all the people that lost loved ones and damage to your homes. All that the damage to your homes can be replaced. The loved ones can't. So prayers out to all the families affected. It dropped a lot of rain on the East Coast. But listen, man, thought the draft was decent. I know it's probably, I want to say I haven't been on probably since the draft. It's been like I went through since all summer. I was watching from afar. A lot of the top tens, a lot of the conversation. I was definitely checking in. But now, man, preseason got it going, and now we into the season. Listen, dude, some things, the numbers can change, or some things stay the same. I will say this, and I'll start it off here. Anytime you start any organization whatsoever, right? Your whole objective should be for success. You should not let personalities get into the way of hiring the best person for the job. Now, you can have your core values and things of this, and you don't want somebody that's a complete off the rails guy, even if they produce results. But you cut yourself at the knees constantly when you don't want a head coach who won't play nice. So I say that to say this. Sirianni is who we thought he was. He is who I thought he was. He is who I thought he was at the end of last year when the team lost 5 or 6 to end the season. The team who went to Tampa Bay and got boat raced. And it looks like the same thing happened again yesterday, a little over 24 hours ago. But he's only in this position because somebody above him doesn't want to get their panties in the bunch, per se, because they don't want a strong personality as a head coach. It took me to hear it from someone else, to hear the fact that I never, and I'm talking about a Hall of Famer, Ray Diddy, he said it this morning, never seen in the offseason where the coordinators get replaced, but you retain the head coach. Now, granted, we all had a glimmer of hope that, what's up, Les? Welcome back.
Hey, fellas.
You should be welcome back. I'm a guest now. This is your show. You're more a regular on the show now than I am.
No. Yeah, you were just talking about Ray, who's a good friend.
Yes.
I used to work with for a long time.
Right.
I think Dallas has done that a few times, but what has Dallas won lately?
Yeah. Here's my thing. I thought about this.
It was a very strange move. I'm not sure. I would not say that Nick doesn't have a strong personality. I think he does. Well, he got this job really, really young.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I was struck by when that whole staff was announced, him and Gannon and Steichen, I had covered the team for about close to 20 years then, and I couldn't help but think, if you look at these guys' resumes, 10 years ago, they were fetching coffee for somebody. I mean, they really weren't like experienced coaches at all. They had barely been position coaches,
Right.
And that doesn't mean they can't succeed, but it was something I noted at the time. And then when they went to the Super Bowl, I was like, well, obviously, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But, you do wonder with Nick. The thing I wonder about is his focus. To me, the team plays like him. It's really emotional, really sloppy, really undisciplined. I don't think he sees himself that way, but I think that's the way he comes off in public to us. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the way the team is. And the one thing off the bat that got me really scratching my head with him was that whole, remember the rock, paper, scissors thing about how he would have guys play right? To see how competitive they were. To see how competitive they were. Well, maybe I'm just not enough of an aficionado of rock, paper, scissors, but if you flash paper and he flashes scissors, are you going to like, oh my God, I lost rock, paper, scissors. What the hell does that tell you? What? Yeah. How does that tell you anything about a person?
Clearly, Les, it tells you next level thinking.
Even the shooting baskets. Okay, if I sign with the Eagles as a guard, a football guard, not a basketball guard, and he wants me to shoot baskets with him, and I'm not making any baskets, do I give a crap?
Yeah. So if that's the case, right, Les, that leads me to my point. Like, whose decision was it to bring him back and to hire him in the first place? Yeah. And I will say it's the greatest success that we've seen. Obviously, Jalen's getting a lot of blame. Sirianni's getting blame. Howie's getting some blame as well. It's amazing to me, 2021 to 2022, the jump that we saw Jalen Hurts make and the team make, that's the only year where things were consistent, right?
Yeah.
I just don't understand at this point, because now I'm at the point it's O-Town. It's all or nothing at all at this point. Because if you get rid of Sirianni, Jeff, you got to get rid of Howie. You got to get rid of Howie too. This is 4 coaches he's seen. 4.
Yeah, they won't get rid of Howie right now.
And I'm to the point now, Les, if that's the case, then I'm out. Because it's never going to change. I've never seen any GM at any position, any CEO, any CFO get to see 4 regime changes.
Oh yeah, I agree. And it's
here's so I've remained quiet a little bit because, like I said, I'm watching the Seahawks game, which I have a lot invested in. So what I will say to that, and it's I will admit it's a bit of a flawed process, because I absolutely want to hold Howie accountable for his misses and his mistakes. If his job is not on the line, how do you hold him accountable? So I totally understand it from that point. Like there has to be some kind of like, hey, if you're not if you're not producing, if you're not doing a good job, Howie, your job is actually on the line. But at the same time, him having that job security helps put into
Yeah.
place some of the moves that he's able to do long term, right? He's able to make these extensions for players' contracts, rework them. He's able to approach the draft in the way he does at times because he has that job security. So oftentimes with GMs, if they don't know they have the job security, they're going to put all into what the team can, how the team can be built right away for the short term, and that hampers the team long term. So like it's a double-edged sword in a way where like if you I know the Athletic put out an article where they had 40, I think they had 40 front office people vote on the best front offices in the league right now, and the Eagles were like fourth or fifth, and they had several first place votes. That's, I mean, the grass isn't always greener. Howie has his ups and downs, but Howie is one of the better GMs in the league. I'm not. I'm personally.
Well, he's been to the Super Bowl with two of those coaches that he hired.
Yes.
You know, and you have to acknowledge that. But he and Jeffrey are always looking for another Andy Reid, a guy that can be here forever and be a program builder, you know, and all that stuff. And they just haven't. They keep thinking they've got that. They thought they had it. Well, with Chip, I think they realized pretty quickly when he tried to kick Howie out of the organization that he was not that guy. But with Doug, I think they thought wholeheartedly when Doug won the Super Bowl, they thought Doug would be here forever, you know. And very quickly that went away, partly because, frankly, Howie wasn't doing a very good job those next few years and hadn't done a very good job in the draft a few years before that. But so then they hire Nick and they go back to the Super Bowl. And, you know, again, Howie's turnaround when they got out of the Wentz situation and got back to the Super Bowl, it was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. You know, I mean, Howie has more cred here than I think Nick does in terms of what he's really accomplished. It's when you're talking about getting rid of Howie, it's Jeffrey's mindset, you know?
Yes.
Jeffrey wants to be involved very heavily in decisions, and Howie facilitates that. And because Jeffrey owns the team, you're not going to get a general manager who doesn't facilitate that. It's just not going to happen ever.
So
maybe when Julian Lurie is running the team, not with this guy.
There we go, right here. There we go, right here. This is It's a cloak and dagger Dallas. It's a more glorified, less outlandish, but he wants to have his hands on it and make the meal. More. He's more like Jerry Jones in the ways of football, obviously not off the field, than we want to really admit. And we have to now, as fans, be content with that and know what you're going to get, right? So it's a culmination of things. And I've seen it. Matt Walsh said Howie does good enough just to not to get fired. He does. And he every once in a while, he'll pull a rabbit. This offseason so far, Devin White is a miss. Signing Bryce Huff and not just giving this month, not just giving him Hassan Reddick the money. Maybe there was something else in the locker room, just they didn't like the guy. It's just we're not seeing it. And now I would also say let's not panic that much because there's only one 4-0 team in the conference. In the conference, 49ers are 2-2. You were 2-2. You really should have been 3-1. That's a whole nother miss. You know what I mean? That's a whole nother to do. But
so
go ahead, PY. Welcome, PY. Nice to see you again.
What's up? I got stuck in traffic.
Okay, Peter, how are you?
I'm doing all right.
We'll get to the poll question too after a few minutes. I know this is a good conversation, so I don't want to steer away from it. But once in a few minutes, we'll get to the poll question we have. But go ahead, PY, chime in.
So I can understand Pete's point when it comes to Howie and he's had a lot of coaching changes and things like that, and there has been no steady control with Howie as general manager because the QBs have been here and there. The coaches have been here and there. And I understand all of that. But is that Howie's fault or is it Jeffrey Lurie's fault? Because Howie is only, it's like Les said, Howie is a facilitator. Howie is only doing what he is asked by Jeffrey Lurie. Jeffrey Lurie wants certain things from his quarterback. Jeffrey Lurie wants certain things from his offense. Jeffrey Lurie wants certain things from the people running his football teams. That's not so much what Howie Roseman may want. That's what he is being told to do by Jeffrey Lurie. Yeah. We remember the story a few years ago when they whooped the Packers on, what was it, Monday night?
At Green Bay, yeah.
Yep. Green Bay, the first time they have won since like 1960 something or something ridiculous.
You talking about when they ran the ball a lot.
Yeah, it was either 2018 or 2019. It was a game in which DeVonta Maddox got hurt. Yeah, okay.
I think it was 2019.
Yeah,
it was the year
I was there.
They went
yeah.
to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And all you heard was Jeffrey Lurie having a stink about it. Because at the end of the day, I don't think he's like Jerry, because I think Jerry is set in his ways. This is the way I want to do it. It's all about me. I want the credit. Lurie is more, I have an idea of how I want to run my football team. This is what I think is the best way of doing so. And he'll change his ideas if it works. Like, you don't go from Andy Reid to Chip Kelly if you're set in your ways, if that makes sense.
Right, but I could argue another side of that, Peter, which is that he's always chasing what he thinks is the hot thing, you know.
Yep. Like you said, the next Andy
Reid. To bring up Andy Reid, my perception, I didn't cover Andy's entire tenure. I came on in 2002, but I covered a lot of it. And I did not perceive Jeffrey as being as intimately involved in every football decision when Andy was here. Yeah. I think that developed as Jeffrey's tenure developed and coaches came and went. I think that's something that evolved. I don't know that Andy would have been that comfortable with Jeffrey.
So is it a thing?
I don't think Clark Hunt tells Andy much of anything. And Brett Veach used to be Andy's errand boy, you know. I mean, and Brett Veach does a good job as a general manager.
Yes,
I'm not dissing him. I'm saying he's Andy's general manager. Yeah. You know, he's not Clark Hunt's general manager.
Yeah. So is that a thing where Lurie, in your opinion, is that a thing where Lurie feels like he has to? But whereas
I think as he's gotten further into his tenure, he thinks he's gotten more opinionated and more. The whole analytics thing, when that began to blossom, that was right up Jeffrey's alley. You know, he understands that. He understands statistics and probability and things like that. And voila, I'm a football guy now, you know. And I'm saying this in a more sarcastic and dismissive way than I should, but I think Jeffrey now feels that he's right there with anybody when it comes to making these evaluations. And, I don't know if it's good or bad. I don't know that he's that bad at it, but I do think it's a factor with anybody you bring in here as a coach.
Yeah.
So real quick to get to this question, we definitely anticipation, pocket awareness. We've heard the conversation with Jalen Hurts talk about this is his third OC or fourth OC. What's more important than that is also his fourth QB coach as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, so you got to encompass, and I'm not giving Jalen a pass by any means. It has to get better. I would say this though. I would definitely say this. You see it on the graphic. Like, share, subscribe. I don't know how many we got watching, but it doesn't match the likes that I have. So I think we only got 9, right? So if you can, just give us a courtesy, just hit the like button. If we earn it, even if you're mad, just hit it. If you don't like us, just hit it. Just interact with it. Just touch it. Feel
it. Mad at us, just hit it. Go ahead.
Here's the thing, right? And Les said this, and Sharks, I think you said it, PY. He's looking for stability, right? This is what I want to say. When Jeffrey brought the team in 1995, kids coming out of college, what they wanted was to get a job. Worked there for 10, 15 plus years, 25 years. Pensions, hell, guess what? They were still a thing. Nowadays,
I have one.
Exactly. The whole avenue, right? Now in the workplace is not to stay anywhere long. You're not getting 10, 15 years. You don't. If you're an employee and you're staying somewhere 10, 15 years, you feel like you are undermining your worth because you're not catching the next opportunity. So for him to think that he's going to get that type of stability, 10 to 12 years in the league, out of a coach is not going to happen.
Well, it's very rare. I mean,
right,
if you can have it with an Andy or a Mike Tomlin, I mean, that's a good situation because those are guys that win. You know, you don't stay somewhere a very long time and not win. But it doesn't happen very many places, and there are plenty of good coaches who don't, you know.
Yes, exactly. I mean, we've seen Harbaugh in the league, out of the league. Now he's back in the league. You know what I mean? So
that Harbaugh, anyway. The other one's been
John Harbaugh is the other side of that, right? So he's been there 16 years now, less? 08?
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that you would call him as a facilitator, head coach. But that is a tight ship. You had Ozzie Newsome, assistant GM Eric DaCosta, and I'm forgetting the owner's name. Is it Balshotti? Is that the name?
Biscotti, yeah. It's spelled like Biscotti, but I don't think that's the way.
I was thinking about the same. That's an Italian cookie. If I'm not mistaken, a Biscotti's Italian cookie or a cracker. I don't know. I like it. I had them before. Dipping in coffee. They're pretty good. But you have stability. I don't know what to expect. And here's the other thing, and I'll steer the conversation. At this point, it is the bye week. Everybody's saying you can't get rid of Nick. They're not going to get rid of Nick.
That would be crazy.
Right. I mean, so, but at what point now we're just salvaged, like we're just giving the season away.
Unless you're sure that Kellen Moore is your next coach for a long time.
Right.
No, you can't. It's not baseball, you know. I mean, you don't fire Joe Girardi and bring in Rob Thompson, you know, and win and go to the World Series or something. I don't know, you know, when that's worked in football.
Yes, that is very true.
It's way too. You can't bring in somebody from outside, certainly at this point. I mean, that would be chaos. And you are 2-2. I mean,
this is true.
He did the same.
Unless he gets arrested for something, you know, I think he's going to be the head coach for the rest of the year or till very late in the year. If they're 2 and whatever in December, he could get fired. But you know, Jeffrey's only done that once. It was with Chip, and Chip gave him reason to do that a week before the end of the regular season. Our commenters are very angry, Tom especially.
Tom's always angry.
This is a carryover from last night's show.
Tom really, I've noticed on social media, Tom is really down on Jalen.
Yeah,
and that's easy to be. And I've had an interesting month or so. I wrote a column for PHLY after one of those games where I said, you know, people are giving Jalen a lot of crap, but he actually played pretty well. And it was like, oh, you're such an apologist.
No, you're not.
Blah, blah, blah. And other times I've been accused of, like, I tweet, like, why did he make that throw? That was ridiculous. And, oh, you're such a hater of Jalen. I'm neither, actually. Here's what I think. I think the turnovers, Nick was asked today about the turnovers. Mm-hmm. And he didn't say this, but here's one thing I would have said. Obviously, and he wasn't going to say this, but Jalen isn't playing great right now. He isn't playing as terrible as some people think he is, given the lack of weapons and so on and so forth. But he isn't playing great. Mm-hmm. One thing that occurs to me is they keep putting him in situations where turnovers are more likely than they are. People keep puzzling over, why isn't it like 2022? Well, 2022 in the second half, he was handing off and they had a double-digit lead a lot of times. You know, this year it's, okay, the Falcons just scored, had a 65-second touchdown drive. Now, Jalen, go get us some more points in the final minute of the game with everybody knowing you're throwing the ball. Should he be able to do that? Sometimes, yes. Is that how a lot of turnovers happen in general in football? Yep. Yes. Yep. Yesterday, they're down 24 to freaking nothing in the middle of the second quarter, and he had a hand in that, although it was mostly the defense and the game plan, offensive and defensive. But it's 24-0, and the other way that turnovers happen is you're coming back from a huge deficit, you get to a certain point, and then there's a turnover because you don't come back from 24-0.
Right.
more than once every 5 years. It's just
You got, and it, like you said, they're playing the
so you're putting
uninspired.
Jalen in these situations, some of which he perpetuates himself, but more they're putting him in the situations where it's not like 2022. He's not like 2022, but the rest of the team isn't either.
Yes. You had Jason. You had probably a better O-line. This is the thing I want to say right here. Listen, people, it's Mahomes and everybody else.
Well, hold on. It's Mahomes in his tier. It's Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, and
but even them, you seen Josh Allen.
Them three are elite. Then it's everyone else.
Now, listen, what I'm saying is Josh Allen was 3-0 against decent teams. He had to play a tough team last night. Yeah. Stephon Diggs less. And I'm not saying Stephon Diggs is the end of the be all, right? But he struggled. What I'm saying to you is I've only seen one quarterback in the last 5 years be able to win without marquee players, and that's Patrick Mahomes. But with that goes Andy Reid. What I'm saying to you is I hear people say
they've had a great defense the past couple of
years.
True.
Even Lamar Jackson struggled. 255. Listen, people, I'm gonna be if y'all on the rock somewhere, inflation hits everywhere. Inflation has hit the NFL in salaries. I can go through the list of how many $200 million quarterbacks got signed this offseason and how many of them was actually worth it. So you can't come at me with $200 million because guess what? That's just the going rate for what a quarterback is. Not elite. Not elite.
It's not a bet. It's not an expensive contract if you compare it to the other
at all. But like,
it's really not. It's really not.
Not at all. But I will say, like Thomas said before, when the contract was signed, you signed him a year too early. Like he deserved it, like he was entitled to it.
You'd be paying a lot more money if you signed him.
That's fine, but it's
going here too early.
255 versus 275 or 285.
Yeah, that's
and the terms.
A lot of money. It's a lot of money.
Way the thing was set up,
the flexibility to pivot.
His cap number this year is $13 million.
Yeah,
that's true.
So the way they were able to. Not only did they get him at a decent price, but they set it up so that they'd have a window where he wasn't eating up a humongous.
Yeah, right. No, you're absolutely right. But people like to use that. Well, he's 200 million, 255 million. That's it's not really about the money. Right. It's about the play. I've sat here and said it. I go back to the Falcons game before. This is where he kills me. Right. It's not only the pocket awareness. It's the situational awareness. Yeah. All granted, go back 2 weeks ago, Monday night, Saquon drops it. It's 34 seconds left. You got 2 timeouts. All you need is a field goal. First play, you hit Goddard. You're at the 40-yard line. The very next play, you have a timeout in your back pocket, 19 seconds left. Kickers is kicking 60-yard field goals like I'm making a 5-foot putt on a 5-foot straight putt at mini golf, right?
It's crazy.
The Britton Covey was a deep cross. And then you try to hit the corner behind it. I'm not even talking about the right route design. And the decision to hit that, where Jalen sometimes he looks at these plays and he waits for big target windows and he eats with his eyes. Well, that's how he likes to get it. You throw it to Britton Covey, and it's either an easy completion, a tough completion, or it's out of bounds. You live to fight another play. It reminded me so much of Seattle last year. Yep. This is where I'm just like Jalen. At some point, the training wheels is off. I hear people still calling him an inexperienced quarterback, a young quarterback.
No, he's not an inexperienced quarterback.
Dang that. It's his year 5 and second contract. Expectations have changed. And I'm telling you, people saying, well, people are really soft on him. Guess what? I don't know when the next game is. 2 weeks. If it's at home and he plays like that, he's going to get booed.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's going and he should be. Quite deservedly. And I don't want to see Nick doing this to the camera, talking to the fans. Nah, I'm not trying to hear all that. When the team is struggling, they don't have anybody to look to on the sideline, probably outside of Big Dom to find confidence in, because Fangio was up in the booth.
Yeah.
I understand the frustration with Jalen. I do. He needs to protect the football fan. Like I'm a big proponent of that. Not all the turnovers are 100% his fault, but they never are with the quarterbacks. There's levels to the turnovers, which unfortunately there's so many where you shouldn't get full credit for it, because if your guy drops a ball on the forward pass, that's on you. If you're trying to grab the snap and the center throws it behind, that's on
Yeah.
you. Like things
Right.
like that. But and I understand if Jalen played with DeVonta Smith, Britton Covey, AJ Brown, Lane Johnson, and he stuck up the joint, I'd be like, oh my God, we got to have a serious conversation about Jalen Hurts. But I'm sorry. What was that game plan where you're not force feeding Saquon Barkley at the running back position, B, force feeding him at the wide receiver position,
Right.
and C, your thought process is, and they continuously do this, and it makes me want to jump off the George Washington
Right.
Bridge. First down, where are we going? Oh, it's a pass. It never works.
The
It
first
never-
two series, at least, they started with passes.
Yeah,
and
I
then had
forget-
to run Barkley on 2nd and 10 both times.
Yeah, both times.
And it was
Yeah.
just,
The
and by
last
the
two
time
games,
they
they-
punted after the
in the
second
first
one,
half?
before they got the ball back again, they were down 21-0 thanks to the ridiculous special teams play.
True.
By the way, did you guys see? I don't want to hijack
Yeah.
the whole conversation here. Did you see
I
that
know.
Isaiah Rodgers was
I
pissed?
know.
that People
Yes.
were,
I know.
don't you ever make a mistake.
Let me come to your job and do this.
Like,
Like,
the
no.
Inquirer had a really good story about this today. It wasn't, for me, it wasn't the mistake. It was him saying in the locker room that he still didn't think they should have picked up that flag because he had never heard of this before, that he
Yeah,
thought he was
I-
making, quote, and this is a direct quote, a savvy veteran play by throwing. He admitted, at first I thought he just kind of brushed the guy and the guy embellished it. No, he admitted that he tried to chuck the guy into his returner, thinking that would get him a penalty.
That's bad. It's so bad. It's really
I
bad.
see why he was suspended for a
That's
year now.
Donovan McNabb
The
not
stupidity
knowing
is
the
there.
overtime
Yeah.
thing.
That's what it reminded me of. It is. So here, like, that's going to allude to one of the things I was really mad about is I don't, especially in a game like this where you're out your top two wide receivers, you're out Lane Johnson. I don't subscribe to the age-old narrative or mindset that, oh, if you're down early, you have to abandon the run. Why? I would
Yeah,
rather.
you don't have to abandon it, no, but
I would
you
rather
have to generate some points.
you have to generate some points, but in a situation like that, again, you're down your top two wide receivers and your best offensive lineman. I would rather you move the ball, eat up clock, and have the possessions take a long amount of time. If that means
to
you're
put your defense back on the
ball,
field. Yeah.
because then put your defense back on the field. And if you're moving the ball, you're moving the ball. If you're not, if you know that you're going to struggle passing, you're going to be 3 and out. And that's what they were the first two possessions. And now you're in an even deeper hole. So like, I don't understand like this. And I am not someone, despite me being all about like running backs matter and all that. Despite that, I am not someone who says, oh, you have to always run the ball. It has to be 50-50.
Right.
I don't subscribe to that. What I subscribe to is you've got to run the ball smarter. You've got to be smart about when you run the ball. It's not
Second and
about,
10, even for Saquon Barkley, 2nd and 10
Right.
every time isn't gonna.
it's not going to do anything again unless you've heard me say this in weeks prior, like in the game last week against the Saints, right? When they attempted the 60-yard field goal, why are you not running it on third down to set up an easier fourth down?
Right. Yes.
Like that's the thing. Those are stuff I'm talking about. When it's in that game, also it was 2nd and 1, and they go for a play action. Just run it. Those are the things where you have to just. It's not about running more, and half the time it's.
And I have never been the whole time I covered the NFL, it was moving farther and farther away from the running back, the run the ball thing. And I got to where I would go to the Super Bowl every year and see a team like when New Orleans won it, a decade or so ago, and they couldn't run the ball and didn't play defense. And so I would come back and I'd hear people in Philly shouting about this stuff and say, well, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But this year is very, very different so far. This year, teams are running the ball and playing defense. Who knew? It's like bringing back wide ties or something. I go back to my closet. maybe you do need to run the ball now, and you certainly need to play defense, which is really where I think it's all chicken and egg. But I keep starting right there. You just can't, because if they win the toss, they're going to defer, and every week the other team scores a touchdown.
So that's very good, very, very good point. I want to get to the super chat, Mr. Brian Pumper.
Oh, hold on, this one. Hold on. Sorry, I got that wrong one.
Yeah, it's the same person. He did it twice. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate you. Look at your captains, offensive bodies, and mute Hurts, defensive bodies, 2 comedians in Slay and BG, and we gave.
I'm not going to call BG a comedian.
Yeah,
the laugh is hilarious, but he's probably he's been your best and most consistent defensive lineman at the age of 36 years old through 4 games, and we gave a seat to a kicker that we don't want to use. Right? Listen, spot on. Here's the thing, couple points. Defensively, yesterday, we saw what we thought we were going to see in the Saints game. Like, how much can this defense hold up water? And then the dam broke yesterday because they had 18 missed tackles. Fangio had the boys in the right position. Players just carry over from last week.
I wouldn't.
To have 18 missed tackles.
They certainly
the first round was just screen.
It's both.
But if they had 4 missed tackles, I think they still lose the game because because it was pitch and catch.
Yeah,
Baker Mayfield didn't do anything extraordinary.
What they gave him.
Never threw the ball more than 10 or 15 yards in the air at the most, but there was never anybody covered. So many times there would be a catch, and you'd watch the replay, and you'd notice that not only is that guy open, but there's another guy wide open over here and another one over here. It's like they're not covering.
They got outcoached every time they play Tampa Bay. They get outcoached. And here's my biggest pet peeve, and I'll let you take the conversation from here. We got over 100 people watching across all platforms. Follow A2D Radio everywhere. Like, subscribe, content daily. There's bad offenses in this. There's bad offenses in this league.
Yes.
There are bad quarterbacks in this league. Out of all those bad teams, out of all the less stellar skill positions, less stellar offensive line, sans $200 million quarterback, there's only one team in the league that has 0 points in the first quarter.
It's us.
Through 4 games, 0 points. Not a safety, not nothing. You have a kickoff, a return from your special teams, or a block field goal, extra kick, extra point, before you have any points in the first quarter. I don't even want to go through the possessions that you've had. I forgot all about the opening game in Brazil that they didn't have any points in the first quarter. Listen, it's what this team is the culmination of individuals at every level. Offense, defense, coordinators, position coaches, head coach, owner. Probably the most cohesive unit on the team is Howie and Jeff. Honestly, because they're a hive mind. Everyone else is just out there doing whatever they want to do. You got Devin White sitting here probably mad and pissed off because he ain't playing, chomping up the other dude that just got a strip sack for the team that your team is playing against. And you wonder why you ain't make the flight. Like, I just don't know. This is the thing. Like we said earlier, I'm kind of being hypocritical to my own self. This team is 2-2, right? But this 2-2 is different than any other team's 2-2 in the league, because this 2-2 is a microcosm of what we saw last year. And we didn't think we would be here. And we've heard
too much of it is anyway. It's not complete.
Right. And it's a slippery slope that we kept hearing.
A strong whiff of last year, especially with the defense, for me. And I really thought Fangio would bring order out of chaos.
Right.
And they improved the talent in the secondary, which is what I don't get. They don't want to play press. They don't want to play man. And they don't seem to really have the instincts for the zones that they're playing. I mean, I'm not an X and O person. Chucks, you are more than me. But they aren't playing these zones with any kind of awareness or instinct, I guess.
So it's
to me.
Yeah, it's for if I'm just gonna focus on the Bucs game, because we saw a tale of two defenses the week before.
Oh yeah,
the matchup dictated it. Okay, the matchup absolutely dictated. Fangio
If they don't have to play nickel, they can play defense. Apparently,
if Fangio had a perfect game plan against the Saints, had the opposite against the Bucs. Okay,
Right.
So the issue with the defense is twofold right now. One, Fangio he's the master of his scheme, but he's going to stick to his scheme. Okay, so what does this scheme dictate? It dictates you get pressure with 4, and you play zone coverages, whether it's pure zone or zone match on the back end. Okay, so I don't have a problem overall with what the back 7 and the secondary is doing in coverage from an execution standpoint. They're executing their assignments fine. Except for CJ Gardner-Johnson, that's another story. But the thing is, and we saw against the Bucs, he likes to play off so much at times that it's just not. It's too much. They got killed the first drive, and I tweeted it right away. I'm like, it's just all flats. The Bucs are just throwing to the flats, and they're killing them that way. The problem is you're not getting pressure with your front 4, which in turn is exposing the soft coverages. So it's Fangio's issue with, hey, these are my coverages. I need the front 4 to get home. So
but Mayfield supposedly got the ball out faster than any quarterback in the league, as everybody told me when I had a snarky tweet about Carter and Davis, and I still think it was a good point. But everybody's like, "Oh, how can you expect them?" You can expect them to at least be visible on the field. Yeah. Just because the guy's getting the ball out quick. The 2 running backs for Tampa Bay averaged 5 yards a carry apiece. Yeah, I mean, you could do something. You could chase down a guy on a screen, or you don't have to just give up because the quarterback is getting the ball out fast. Get your hands up.
Yeah, they were getting beat off the ball. It was bad. So the defensive line they're not playing consistently enough for Fangio's scheme, and in turn, it's causing the back end to get exposed because even though they are executing and playing their assignments fine, if you're not getting pressure and if you're playing off like that, the Bucs are just going to keep attacking you the same way. That's kind of what happened. And so I think, and I might, to me, maybe it's my expectations. I never expected this defense to be a top 5 to 10 unit. I just wanted them to be good enough to make plays when needed.
Right.
I think they're capable of that, but that in turn was the requirement to offset that was this offense has to be top 5, top 10.
Yeah.
To offset that defensive unit. And right now we're not seeing that.
You're
so I will, Les, before you go, I want to get into the poll question finally. The poll question that
40 minutes in.
Yeah, 40 minutes in.
Fine.
The poll question is Eagles offense will be fine once AJ Brown and DeVonta Smith return. If you want to include Lane Johnson, you can.
I certainly would, because I think that's really as important as either of those guys. Fine. It'd be better. But I don't think we thought it was great. I mean, the opener was the only game where they've had all those people together, right?
Yeah.
And the opener was an opener. I mean, it wasn't a great offensive show. I don't know. I sure hope so. But I can't say for sure that that's going to be the case. I mean, the turnovers and, Kellen Moore hasn't been a revelation to me as far as play calling goes. That game plan yesterday was very odd, I thought.
It was bad.
But I don't know. I can't say that. I can't say that I agree, I guess. I think that it'll be better, but be fine. We'll see.
PY, what do you think?
I do. I understand, Sunday was just not a good day. Jalen wasn't great. The offense wasn't great. But, I don't know anyone who watched that game who went into it was like, oh, man, we're down our 3 wide receivers and our left tackle. This is going to go really good. The Eagles are going to shock the world. And then Jalen plays bad. The wide receivers are trash. The run game is not really set up. And they don't really use Saquon Barkley that much. Nobody was shocked by that. That they did it. Should they have done it that way? Of course not. I would have done everything I can to make it the Saquon Barkley game. The fact that you went into that game and you're like, we're gonna force feed a bunch of wide receivers who should never touch the ball. Not to mention the fact that we're in a game where you needed Jahan Dotson to do something. He got like 2 targets. Like,
right.
And
he was out there the whole game. He played a ridiculous number of snaps.
I forget who is
not seeing the whole field too. So
they're not using him.
Right. I don't know if that's a Hurts issue or what it is, but
I think a big issue.
I thought going into that game real quickly. I thought going into that game they might throw to Kenny Gainwell or Shipley.
Yeah,
Shipley was on the field for the first play, and then was never on the field again. He must have done something real bad on that first play. But go ahead.
I would say he's a fraud. Like, 90% of your offense hasn't been on the field for the most part of the last few games. And, it's shown. I think when it comes to Jalen, comfortability is king.
Yeah.
If he's comfortable with you, you're going to get the ball.
Right.
He's comfortable with Dallas Gower. He's comfortable with A.J. Brown, obviously. He's comfortable with DeVonta Smith. Like, asking him to force feed guys like that he's just not comfortable with. Like Paris Campbell. Who else was even out there on Sunday? The 6'6" guy whose name is escaping me.
Johnny Wilson.
Johnny Wilson. Like
Grant
Calcaterra.
I've never seen Johnny Wilson actually be open.
No.
He's not that fast. He's tall, he's big, but he's not that fast. But Les, before you get out of here, there's one question I wanted to get your thoughts on.
It's a good point by Richie Mack there. That's really true.
Very huge.
It was huge. Yeah.
Oh, and that too. Real quickly on Brian Johnson in Washington, I can't tell if it's Jaden Daniels or if it's Brian Johnson, but that ESPN story a while back.
I know the one you're talking about.
Give you the flavor of Brian Johnson wasn't running his offense last year and wasn't calling the plays that he wanted to call last year. And now you see him succeeding, and it kind of lends credence.
Is he killing it, or is Cliff Kingsbury killing it?
It doesn't. None of that matters because it's the first time the league is seeing this. So the league is going to catch up. Jaden Daniels is going to regress at some point, and we got to see it. Look, we've seen it from 2022 Sirianni offense, and even Shane Steichen. They're not clicking as much in Indy as they was. Good win for them yesterday.
Their young quarterback is having a lot of trouble, but and their personnel isn't great in Indianapolis regardless.
Right.
But it is interesting to see Brian Johnson go there and do this. But anyway, what were we going to say there, real quick? What was the?
Oh no, that was it. I mean,
okay.
It's amazing to where this game. This is the crazy part, right? And this is us as fans. We are spoiled. This offense, if you had Lane yesterday and you didn't have AJ and DeVonta, you didn't have Saquon, that's what Andy and Five went out with all the time.
Yeah.
And he, like you would think from a coaching perspective, right? This is a game that Andy would do something different and he would find a way to come up with a game plan to win.
Oh, he would have a better defense
if he didn't have it all, right? Yeah. And you look at Baker, you look at the other side of the field. Last week, the Denver Broncos sacked Baker 7 times.
I know.
And they came up with a different game plan. Hell, Alex Singleton, who should have been a lifelong Eagle, probably the best linebacker that this team has had in 10 years, played the game on a torn ACL.
I don't know
ACL. And had 18 tackles.
Yeah, Alex was a limited player as a linebacker, but
he was. I'm in the moment.
I mean, and a good guy to have on your team, and a good culture guy.
Yes.
But yeah, it would be nice to have him. Certainly, there's a lot of guys around the league that are former Eagles that would be nice to have. Nelson Aguilar certainly looked pretty good yesterday.
Yeah.
You see him? Did you see Nelson take away that interception from Rasul Douglas?
Yes. I was like former Eagle on former Eagle crime. I was like,
and they've been in the league now. Nelson's been in the league now 10 years.
Yeah.
I think Rasul was the same draft? No, Rasul was the draft
Rasul
after.
Was a year late. I think Rasul was 2016 or 17, wasn't he?
Was Rasul the same draft as he wasn't the same draft as Sidney, was he?
He was.
Rasul was third round. And
that's 17 then. 17.
And Aguilar was 2015.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I just it's so polarizing, this team.
Yeah.
because you feel like give Nick the year. We've seen it. They're not going to get rid of him. Jalen now, you may be tied to the money. What's the next move? And this is going to sound crazy. People, I may get killed for this. It is what it is. If Jalen wasn't signed right now, this is the perfect position, I believe, to go take a flyer on a Bryce Young or somebody like that, who has a better arm. Listen, you can say I may get killed for it, but it's at least it's something.
Yeah,
or
I don't like that. No.
I don't know what to do. But like, if Jalen isn't it, where are we going? Where are we going? We're going back.
Bryce Young.
If it's not Bryce Young, but then who? If it's not Jalen, it's not Bryce Young, then who? Because you have too much talent on this team to let this offensive core go to waste.
At this point, though, even
clearly
at this
Tanner
point,
McKee.
even right after yesterday, there aren't 12 starting quarterbacks I would rather have than Jalen Hurts.
Mm-hmm.
And unless you're going to get one of those guys, I don't want to go take a flyer on somebody that hasn't proven anything or hasn't done anything in the league. I have my questions about Jalen, but I think we're a ways from that. I think if the Nick Jalen thing doesn't work out this year, I think it's Nick that goes and not Jalen. And I think we're probably a year away from Jalen being in any serious trouble. But what do I know? I've been wrong many times before.
You're not getting rid of Jalen Hurts until 2027 at the earliest. Yeah. That's when his dead cap hit.
That's when the dead cap. That's when the out is, right?
Well, no, the potential out is 2028. The dead cap hit, if you get rid of him in 2027, is 20 mil. But that we've seen quarterbacks like Russell Wilson and Carson Wentz, where the dead cap hit was significant. So, like, if it's that bad, they'll eat it. But that's the earliest you'd see Jalen Hurts go is 2027.
Martian, get ready for Bill at head coach, Josh McDaniels at offensive coordinator.
No, I'm out. As soon as you say that, I'm
exactly.
out.
No, I'm telling you what's going to happen. It's Bill, it's McDaniels, and it's Mr. Pencil.
I'm out.
You know, the thing that there are two things that I always say when this comes up. One is Belichick is at least 5 years older than I am. And the Eagles aren't going to hire a 73-year-old coach.
They want the next guy.
Is, the whole watch the Patriots over the last 3 years or so and tell me that you really want that guy coaching your team.
Exactly.
The Eagles are kind of playing into the narrative about being so sloppy and undisciplined and stupid. And you kind of think that a Belichick team wouldn't be so sloppy, undisciplined, and stupid. But other than that, as far as running concepts that are, up to date and getting players motivated and all that stuff, there's no evidence. There's no recent evidence of that. And I just don't see it. I think they would go. So I don't know what they would do, frankly. But
it's very, very alarming to me if they go defensive.
Never done that since Ray Rhodes. Last time they did it was Ray Rhodes.
Happening.
Do we think when that article with Brian Johnson, Les, do you think when he said I wasn't calling my plays, do you think it was Jalen that was kind of stopping him, or do we think
no. Jalen
was definitely Nick.
I think that's why I think that's a big part of the Jalen Nick problem is that even when Brian Johnson, as the offensive coordinator, running Brian Johnson's plays and not Nick Sirianni's plays, and he felt like Brian was scapegoated, I believe, and I don't know that for certain, but that's my reading of it.
And that's what's the most alarming thing to me. Just looking at this, if I'm just looking at the NFL as a job, right? If you're at your job, you have your role, you have your way that you want to write a specific article, whether it's a persuasive article, whether it's an informative article, whether it's an assertive article, and the way you approach it, it may not be the best way, but you can't get out of your own way to do it successfully in a better fashion. That's what is mind-boggling me for Nick. Like, you've seen this now for 13 games. For it not to work, you're constantly banging your head against the wall. What is it going to take for you to change?
I don't know.
Is it going to be the unemployment line? Because that's where he's headed.
Well, this is supposed to be Kellen Moore's offense now, so I don't know.
You could change. You can't change the leopard spots.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get into scheme in a bit. Well, wow, the Lions just threw. Jared Goff just caught a touchdown pass.
Really?
Yeah. I will answer the
Who had
poll
that?
and we'll let Les go. I kind of agree. I'm with Les on this, where I guess I agree to the poll, but I don't feel confident. Like
Right.
the reason why
I didn't even agree to this poll. I didn't answer it.
The reason why I agree to the poll is because when we did see them, and even weeks 2 and 3, like they were moving the ball. Like I know in week 2 we weren't scoring the touchdowns, but I mean, or week 3 we weren't scoring touchdowns because we turned it over. But I mean, they were moving the ball. I don't have a huge issue with this scheme. It has certain flaws, and I'll get into. But yeah, again, like I think the offense will be fine. But again, I think with Nick, there's always that caveat of like maybe not. So I don't feel too
Well,
confident.
his decisions have been so up and down. That strategically you don't know how, because he's still doing that. It's not
That's
Kellen
the
Moore
inconsistency, right?
making decisions about fourth downs and things like that, or how to set up for fourth down, which is what you were talking about, Chucks, a little while ago, where they had the third down play where they could have run, and I don't think those. I think those are Nick's decisions. So.
Yeah. I
Anyway.
have to address this real quick because
I was just about to say the same thing.
constantly going at it. Like we're getting to it. I'm putting blame on the QB. Like go look at my freaking film breakdown reel that I put up on HD socials. I'm blaming Jalen Hurts. Like that miss, the first play from scrimmage where he missed Saquon, that's on Hurts. I am absolutely blaming Hurts. So just calm down, like Brian. I appreciate you driving in, but like constantly him and like I think Martian and other people.
But just making it totally the quarterback is a lazy way to
Yeah,
look.
it's this.
There's
Yeah,
a lot of people to
It
blame.
isn't
If you're
just the
watching,
It isn't just.
if you're watching these games and your thought process is everything is all on Jalen Hurts and none of the blame is on Nick Sirianni, it's either you have your Jalen hater glasses on, which is fine, or you just have an agenda. Like, there's issues with this team, but they're not all on Jalen Hurts. Like, if you came out of Sunday's loss where without his starting 3 wide receivers and his Hall of Fame left tackle, and they barely ran the football, and your thought process was, oh my God, what an awful quarterback display. Yeah, I can't take you seriously when we're talking about football, because clearly you have an agenda and you're letting the hater goggles like get in your way.
Shout out to Chris Kaufman Jr. The team hasn't gotten over last year. Thank you for the super chat.
It clearly hasn't gotten as completely over it. I agree.
I was right about Justin Fields, so it's all good.
Hey, but Justin Fields, who has the Steelers at 3-1 and has been playing very well. So.
3-1, yeah. Well, let's see how long that lasts for.
Mm-hmm, exactly. Mm-hmm.
No, seriously? Did this just happen?
What? Yeah.
What? Oh, Pete Rose, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm still here.
Nick Castellanos home run.
I actually, in 1989, I was doing some baseball, and I covered Pete Rose getting thrown out. I went to Ohio, went to court proceedings, went to Reds games, and went to New York and listened to the commissioner, Bart Giamatti, give his, speech about he's throwing Pete Rose out of baseball. And Giamatti died a week later.
Wow.
You guys are really young. You don't remember this, but it was a hell of a time. I remember every detail of it very, very clearly. And Pete passed on today very unexpectedly, I think, because there was just a story in the paper about his grandson is going to play baseball for LaSalle. And I think Pete was quoted in the story, if I'm not wrong. So, yeah. And, of course, Dikembe Mutombo.
Yeah.
Someone I liked a lot.
Chris Christopherson.
Yeah. God dang.
As well? All today?
No, that Chris was over the weekend, but what a great guy he was. Yeah.
Wasn't he Whistler and Blade, right?
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
I brought it up like multiple times
That's how
today.
I knew, yeah. That's how I knew him.
A great guy, yeah. But anyway, guys, I really enjoyed this. You guys carry on and have a fine evening.
Thank you, Les. It was good to be back on with you.
Yeah, love having you on. We will
Good to be
see you next week. We'll talk some
Yes.
bye week, and figure out another way to complain about the Eagles.
Oh, we'll have stuff. to talk about.
Man.
I'll see you on Twitter, Les. Have a good
All
one.
right. Take care, Chuck.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
one.
That's the great Les Bowen on the Birds, going on with us every week. Always great to have him. Like and subscribe. There are a lot. We're gonna go.
I didn't answer the poll question, by the way.
Oh, go ahead. What is your answer to the poll question?
I disagree because you can have him back, and if the QB, listen here, Brian, if the QB plays like he's been playing, it's not going to matter. If play design stays as basic as it is, it's not going to matter. And you have to define what is fine, what is okay, what is acceptable.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's subjective for that reason.
Right, exactly. So
yeah.
The pocket awareness, the lack of anticipation throws. I've said this numerous times when I ever thought Drew Brees had a shitty arm. He was the greatest anticipation thrower of all time.
Yep.
He threw to a spot. And we saw it yesterday. You saw it with Josh Allen. Keon Coleman was a shell of himself. 2 big plays, 2 series in a row. That back shoulder throw 30 yards down the field. Jalen ain't making that. But that's the type of stuff, that little cheat code that you need. Jalen has been less than stellar at the QB position since week 1. And it's the same thing. And I'm tired of the euphemisms. I'm tired of you are what you are, you this, that. I'm tired of the riddles. Stop talking like you Batman. Shut up, fucking put the suit on and go play.
Yeah, you can't, like, at some point, and I think we've reached that point, we have to stop giving him the benefit of the doubt that he's going to fix these.
Yep.
Because, like, it's an issue since last year. It's been an issue since last year. And until he proves that he'll stop, it's like, you kind of got to accept that he is who he is. And when you have, here's the problem with Hurts. When you have a quarterback that turns it over at a higher rates, like a Josh Allen, you have to have the high splash plays, the hero plays to offset it, right? Hurts isn't providing that at as high as rate as he was 2 years ago. That's a huge problem. So I don't like, again, since Brian Pumper wants us to criticize Hurts, this is it. Like I am not like, and that's another thing. You can tell he's not as
he's slowed down since week 1.
Since I don't even say, like, since 2022, it doesn't matter how he's looking 2024 right now. The fact of the matter is he doesn't look the same as he did.
He doesn't even look the same as he did in week 2 against the Falcons.
I don't. And now hold on. So some of it is the type of, and I said this last week. You've got to get him running downhill toward the line of scrimmage. Stop with the zone reads. Stop with
he's not fast enough.
Like, stop having him go parallel to the line of scrimmage. That play, those type of QB run plays aren't working. You've got to get him going downhill. Start calling. They called QB power against the Falcons, and it worked like so well. Start calling that more. Start calling QB run designs that are like that. QB draw is fine too on occasion, but like stop with the zone read. Stop with the RPOs too. I know that's not a QB run play, but like those aren't working as well. So.
You want to get to these starter comments?
Yeah, so like I wanted, there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about with here. So let's see. I wanted to talk about, so we already talked about Brian's killing in Washington, Dan Quinn also, and obviously Cliff Kingsbury.
Highlight me in the second half of the season.
So I know before the show, behind the scenes, you're talking about Washington and how Cliff Kingsbury should have been. I don't want to.
Maybe he should have been on the radar, but
he was. They interviewed him.
But that's why they did interview him.
They did.
I forgot about that.
Yes,
certain people.
That's what I'm saying, Brian. He does. That's why I'm saying get rid of it.
He's too slow.
He doesn't. It's not that he's making the wrong read. He's not reading it right. He's keeping it too often when he should be giving it up.
He should be giving it up.
So that's what it is. So like, yeah, they interviewed Cliff Kingsbury. And I know a lot of people are kind of taking a victory lap saying Cliff Kingsbury should have been our offensive coordinator. Let's pump the brakes. Like I will I will gladly, I'll give Cliff Kingsbury his credit for doing really well right now in Washington. For one, it's 4 weeks into the season. We'll see how the issue with Cliff Kingsbury isn't the beginning of the season. It's the end of the season when defenses start to catch on to what he's
Remember
doing.
Kyler looked like an MVP first 5 games of the season a couple years ago?
Then what happened after that? Exactly. So let's see how it goes in the season. And the other part of it is we all agreed, Kenneth Walker, another touchdown. Ken Walker,
and let's see if Jaden Daniels can hold up. He's going to get squared up by somebody. Yeah. He's going to take a big hit.
He's going to. So here's the thing, last year we all agreed that the problem with the offense was the scheme never gave Jalen all the answers. It was too basic, right? Nothing in the middle of the field, no hot routes, no motion. Those were the issues. The reason why Cliff Kingsbury wouldn't have been the smart hire is because Cliff Kingsbury doesn't believe in that stuff either. He doesn't do that stuff. Okay, so at least not prior to that. If he changes and shows that he's willing to, that's another story. But we had nothing to go off to show that he would change, right?
Right.
Kellen Moore, even though he's not the best offensive coordinator out there in the league, Kellen Moore's offenses they offer that type of stuff to the scheme, right? And we're seeing it. This whole thing again. I'll touch on it. Is the offense has worked in certain aspects. It's moved the ball. So I don't think the scheme is a huge issue per se. I don't think it's that big of a deal. They just gotta stop turning it over, and they gotta start running it smarter. That's what it is.
And turnovers in every fashion, not the ball awareness, the pocket awareness. If you step up in the pocket and you see Levante David go past you this way, sir, the ball's not out. You still hold on to this thing. Some bitch coming back. You know what I mean? He's coming back your way. So Jalen, that's where Monday through Saturday, somehow, somewhere, he in his head, in between his ears, bro, what are we doing? Yeah. Take some pressure off of him. You signed a 3 years, $37 million, probably has a chance to be the offensive player of the year if you just get out of his way. Use him, right? Use him. He almost popped one again yesterday for what? He pushed out at the 5 or something like that. There was so many momentum things, and that's where it's just we can sit here talk about Nick, we can talk about Jalen. There's some type of aura around this team right now, whereas consistency just isn't it. Even when they first 2 drives for Tampa Bay, 14-0, you literally get a stop, and then Isaiah Rodgers does some bonehead veteran savvy shit, right? Then from there, you get the first drive of the second half, boom. Now what? It's 24-16, 24-14. Give up a touchdown right after that, right? Then you drive again. That's when the fumble happened. I think he fumbled at the 35, 40-yard line at Tampa Bay. So you took points off the board again. So, but those things, it's just the funk around the team that just, I don't know. I don't know how you change it. Maybe they need to have a blessing in the locker room around the people, do something. I don't know. I really don't know. But it's frustrating because, like I said, this 2-2 feels different than San Fran's 2-2. This 2-2 feels different. I'm trying to think of another good team. Feels different than Baltimore's 2-2, right? Because you have a team in your division that's 3-1 that really came out of nowhere, so you don't feel like you're that far behind. But I'm not afraid of the teams that we play against, as far as them being the reason why this team doesn't see the success that we thought they would see at the beginning of the year. I'm more fearful that this is literally a house of cards and it's about to go to shit. And then once you hire a coach, once you do this and all that, then you set yourself back. 2 years, can you get it back? Yeah, but football only comes around, actual games of football. We have these for 4 months. Yeah. 4 months. 18 weeks, 21 weeks if you're lucky, if your team make it. Everything is, it feels like everything is all or nothing now. Second time I said it, you know what I mean? But it really is. So it's not like there's not, what good can you come out of, what good have you seen outside of Saquon? He don't count. Saquon don't count. You give me anybody on the team. Yeah. Saquon and Quinyon don't count.
Well, I mean, that's two people.
Zach Bond.
There's 51 other motherfuckers on the team.
I know, I'm just saying, we're giving you stuff that.
Does Zach Bond count? He's really good.
I'll take Zach Bond. Okay, I'll take Zach Bond.
And here's another one. Well, before I get into that, because it's going to lead into
what you want to do.
Mr. Wing's comment. It's a scheme issue. They're still going for the big play instead of having more underneath. That's inaccurate. If you look at the passing charts, a lot of stuff has been short to intermediate and underneath.
That's how Dak lived in that system for years.
Yeah, so it's that is actually inaccurate. They are doing well. You still have to push for the big plays. All right, but they're doing Jalen's doing a good job of managing the short to intermediate areas. He really is. But it doesn't matter if you keep turning it over. So I wanted to talk about that. But we talk about what's a bright spot. Like, I know there's a lot of issues right now. I want to get this off my chest, okay? Because week 1 and week 4, there's so many people that want to say Avonte Maddox should be benched. And hey, if you want to have a rotation of Maddox and Cooper DeJean in the slot, sure, go ahead. I'm all for that. Rotate them in certain situations. But what I have an issue with is that whenever Maddox does have a bad game, which is weeks 1 and 4, the noise to bench him is so loud. However, Jesus Christ, the Lions. Is that Jameson Williams?
The Jameson did score because I had anytime TD on him.
Yep. So anytime he does bad, it's the loudest thing ever. Everyone complains. But weeks 2 and 3, when Maddox was playing well, no one said a damn word about him. So I'm okay with criticizing a guy like Maddox. That's fine. Just be consistent. So I didn't hear anyone say anything when he was playing well in weeks 2 and 3. That's my problem. But anyways, people are asking like Nakobe Dean too. Like the thing with Nakobe
Dean, he's healthy. I'm happy he's upright.
The thing with Nakobe Dean is you have to know the type of player you have. Like, yes, he can't cover. He can't cover. We all know that. Except I've been saying it since he was drafted. Coverage is not his strong suit. But he's playing next to someone who is at least actually decent at it, pretty solid at coverage.
Very good in coverage.
Do you trust Jalen to throw these throws right now, Theodore? Shots out for whoever your people's naming you Theodore, for one. That's not a name you hear that often. But you really want Jalen to throw middle seams? Come on now.
So, yeah, I mean, with Dean, and it alludes to, again, this. Richie Mack saying, Devin White, why is he not playing? I'll tell you
because he's not good.
Because he's I was saying it. Both of you, I'm sorry, I'm going to put it. Both of you got on me for saying the signing.
Yeah.
I said it could be decent. It wasn't. I was wrong.
I'm 100% wrong on that one. I thought he was going to be good.
Because Devin White, and I'm telling you again, you're going to give me my time here. Devin White has put nothing on film to show that he is a good linebacker. And I was telling you.
I mean, what did Zach Bond put on film?
The name overshines his actual play. That is the 100% fact, okay? And I've seen people say, like, yo, you got to bench Dean and put Devin White in. Devin White has the same issues as Nakobe Dean, okay? Devin White he has an issue with missed tackles. He can only play downhill, okay? He can't play in coverage, all right? So, like, it's similar to something you have with Dean. But at least Dean has, like, he's younger, he's homegrown, and he's shown actually to be a little bit more consistent right now than Devin White. So just miss me with the Devin White stuff. Okay. Now, what I will say, what is weird is the fact that he's been a healthy scratch. Right. That is a little, and the manner that it's gone about and the designations they put, like last week, they put it like personal reasons. Like, I would not be surprised if there's also something behind the scenes going on with Devin White that we don't know about. Something with the coaches where he's not happy. Maybe he's complaining. I don't know. I really don't know. But that's what's a little bit weird. But in terms of play, this should not be surprising. I've been telling you since we signed him. And in terms of play, no one should be pounding the table for Devin White. Richie, I'm not saying you're pounding the table. I'm just saying, like, there are people still asking, why isn't he playing? Like, he should be playing. No, he's –
So you mean the only caveat I would say to that is at this point, what we've seen. So going into the bye, coming out of this, do you want to see Trot get more playing time? I saw his name. Do you want to see Jelix Hunt get more playing time? Like something has to change, right?
Jelix Hunt's not going to play middle linebacker. But
I'm just saying in general, like something has. We got to do something that kind of spark up.
Honestly, people are going to think this is silly. Like I would love to see Trotter. Like Ron Pepper says, I would love to see Trotter. I don't know if he's ready. Okay, I just don't know if he's ready. Here's another name. Based on what we saw in the preseason, and this is why I say like it might sound crazy, but if we're that desperate, like I guess it can't hurt to try, right? I think Ben Van Sumeren does this. You could see someone. Ben Van Sumeren actually looked like the best coverage linebacker. I think it was Eagles Eric on Twitter, and he has I think it's him, either him or someone else. They have film breakdowns on YouTube. They do a really good job. They broke down the linebacker play in the preseason, and you see Ben Van Sumeren in coverage, and actually he's not half bad. You could argue Ben Van Sumeren was the best out of the group in coverage. So I don't know. That's just again. I'm not trying to say like he's the answer. I'm just saying like if you're looking for solutions, it's not Devin White. It could be Ben Sumeren. So
and that's where here's the other thing, right? Like I said, it's Mahomes and everybody else, and you kind of gave me tears, and I'm just like, even those people don't belong in the God tier that Mahomes is by itself, because he lost Rashee Rice, he still won the game yesterday. I would also say, I would probably put the next closest position and player it's literally Fred Warner and then everybody else. Like there's a bigger gap between Fred Warner and every other linebacker in the league, maybe so the QB. And that's like these like at linebackers, I get it. I think the fans and us, we just want to see people that are comparable, somewhat don't get beat every play, maybe get one stop, maybe get a PBU or something like that. It's so tough because once again, you got these guys that are a little lighter, and then this is why. I mean, I don't know. Like it's just difficult. Roquan ain't in coverage like Fred. Nah, he'll pop you. Don't get me wrong. Roquan, he'll pop you. Patrick Queen ain't the same. Is the same way. Fred is different.
Fred is different. And
that BYU boy just different.
EC1 football. Listen to what I said instead of listen to me. I said if you're looking for an alternate solution. If you are looking for an alternate solution, Ben Van Sumeren would be the next guy I'd go to over a Devin White. Before
Trotter too?
It depends. I don't know if Trotter's ready yet. I would love to see. Kenneth Walker's going off. He's so good. I would love to see Jeremiah Trotter. That's ideal. I just don't know if he's ready. I don't know how he's looked at practices, but like, anyone who's watched film will tell you Ben Van Sumeren can move. He's athletic. So like there could be something there. I mean EC1 football is probably the same guy who said, "Oh, Zach Bond's not going to be anything good." Like
exactly.
You
Burks.
You just know. Like I'm not pounding the table for Ben Van Sumeren. I'm just saying he's you never know. Like it could be. There've been crazier names that come out of nowhere. When freaking Reed Blankenship was a nobody before he came with somebody like
TJ Edwards.
I would rather go to Ben Van Sumeren than Devin White. That's what I'm saying. If you want to look elsewhere, Ben Van Sumeren to me would be a better option to go to than Devin White because Van Sumeren is athletic and he showed he can actually cover. So that's my point. Sorry, you see one football. You made me a little upset, so I was just like, I'm not trying.
There we go. That's exactly Martian's got the good idea here.
Oh God.
Gotta reunite the band for one night only.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think. And then Cotton Ball before we get out of here because I do want to catch ending of this game, which is it's looking really well. Kenneth Walker, baby. Cotton Ball does say, I have a question. Do you guys think they're trying to save Saquon Barkley for the playoffs? They're down this season. I don't think so.
No.
I think they're just sticking. This is who they
don't have that luxury either.
Yeah, they don't have the luxury either. He's been their MVP. I don't think
you can't save someone for something if you don't make it.
Yeah.
It's like
he may have his chance now, Brian. Because didn't CJ get carted off?
No.
I thought he left the field.
Well, I think he's fine. It was like IV related, but Brian, I don't think Cooper DeJean is trash, but just remember he missed most of training camp.
Yeah,
so
he was hurt 90% of the offseason.
I think they're just trying to make sure they don't rush him in there and like put him in before he's ready. I think sooner rather than later you're going to see his reps increase. So just be patient. I think week 6 we'll start to see it. Again, I would love to play him in the slot, rotate him with Maddox in certain situations. Here's the thing with DeJean and Maddox. They have different skill sets. Maddox is the shorter, quicker guy. So in certain situations where you want more speed and stuff like that against a smaller slot receiver, put Maddox in. But in certain situations where you want more run support, where you're facing a bigger slot receiver, put DeJean in. So like I think that would be smart.
So last thing before we get out of here, Darius Slay on Micah Parsons show.
Why would you do that?
Such a loser.
Why would you do that?
Like that's, and then you couple that with put up my stats when you talk about my bad, talk about my greatness too. Like, just please come out and tell me that you're not in charge of your own Twitter account. Like, just say that you thought that Micah said something else. Like.
It gets so hard to defend him at this point. Like you just look like an ass clown.
I've defended him, but that move to me is like I don't.
An hour after the loss.
I don't mind him being on Micah's podcast.
Right.
It's the fact that CJ, your teammate, was just going back and forth with him last week, and then now you're like, that's a bad look. That's just a bad look. So
like how do you walk into the locker room after the bye week and then CJ he gonna want the smoke, he gonna say something to you.
Mm-hmm.
He gonna say something to you, and this is the other thing too, Vic. You know what? People tired of seeing Slay. Slay was always best as a man press corner. Put him over there, let him play press man all day. Because then maybe he may tap in this whatever big play he got left. Yeah, I think the big plays now is left for Saturday night with Jennifer. That's all I think. That's it.
That's a pretty big play.
Mrs. Slay is seeing the only big play.
Big play.
That's it. Because we sure ain't seeing it on the field, and he doing a hell of talking.
Yeah.
So is CJ, and he ain't doing much playing.
But the thing is, like CJ's had some splash plays too. But like, absolutely, he has to get better in coverage. He has to get better in coverage, absolutely. But like, I'm not going to get on CJ too much just yet because we've all said like it goes just beyond his play, like his attitude and his demeanor, his leadership, his swagger that he brings to this defense is missed, right? That kind of attitude. So I'm glad he's here. He does need to play better, but I'm still glad he's here. I'm not going to say that's a whiff just yet.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I'm excited. I know someone asked.
I love this.
We're not going to be near. We're not going to be.
Hey! Be careful what you wish for.
This team is on talent alone. This team is going to win 7 games, no matter how poorly.
By accident, they can win 7 games.
They're going to win 7 games, so we're not going to be nearly picking nearly early enough. So, yeah. Anything else before you guys want to bring it home?
Nah, man, it felt good to be back. Felt good to get off my chest. Who knows?
Yeah, please be back again. Maybe not, even if it's not next week, be back the week after.
Don't leave us with Brinks.
Oh my God.
He's okay at times.
Stop lying to the viewers.
He's just as opinionated as you. Not saying his opinion is valid. But his opinions are his alone.
Very opinionated, just like you, PY, just in different ways.
Different ways.
Don defense getting lit up. Isn't Brian Burns isn't playing? Not Brian Burns. Brian. What's the safety that we wanted?
Brian Branch. He's hurt, I think, right? Yeah, illness or something. Out.
He's out tonight.
Yeah, he's out tonight. Well,
he's got cholera.
Tigers made the playoffs.
The whole Seahawks defensive line is out.
No, I don't. Nah, listen. I will say this: he needs to turn heel because if you close your eyes, you listen to him talk. He's a fucking heel, and he dresses like a heel. Every walks. Like
People have been saying that about Cody for like 6 years now. Like it's not happening.
I thought he was heel. And
He's like John Cena.
Well, here's the big thing, guys. When the heck is freaking Alexa Bliss gonna come back?
Never. You have
She's
tippy
not
time.
coming back. Stop
You have
trying to
tippy
make
time.
Alexa Bliss a thing. It's like fetch. It's not happening.
Why? You don't want her back? You don't
I'm
want
not
her back?
saying that. It's just not happening.
It's just
Yeah,
not
but
happening.
you want her back.
She's probably gonna have another kid before she comes back.
Gotcha. Well, she keeps putting out cryptic tweets or Instagram posts, and I'm like,
Yes,
it's
for
not you
people
engaged.
exactly like you.
Hey, SummerSlam in 2025, MetLife Stadium, 2-nighter. So
I heard, yeah, 2025. That's awesome.
maybe we can get Chucks out there. We'll start a GoFundMe to get Chucks.
I will.
Bliss.
I won't step foot in the stadium.
If Alexa Bliss says, "Join me in the private suite,"
Walker again.
He has 3 touchdowns.
3 touchdowns. Let's go.
Jesus Christmas.
Woo! Kenneth Walker season. To all the haters and doubters out there on Kenneth Walker, y'all eat it, yo.
Now, Zach Charbonnet not getting no touches. He getting catches, but that's it. But also real, it's the bye week. We suffered through 4 weeks of the season so far. We don't know what team we're going to get. Hey, man, the best thing I could tell you is this. Take it as it comes. Strap yourself in. Be along for the ride. ATD is going to hold you. Once again, brought to you by Bajo's Bread, located in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. Home of the best stuffed breads, tomato spies, sandwiches, cutlets, and meatballs. Mention ATD Radio for 10% off your in-store purchase. And they are the official bread. This is a free plug for Mama's and Pennsauken, whose cheesesteaks are, oh, my God. The black eyed peas. Like, I wish I just had Will I Am saying, "Oh my God."
I want one tomorrow now. Jeez,
Dude. Oh my goodness, man. But yeah, man, felt good to be back. Martian, Don, Brian Pumper. If you don't know, you know. Go look up Brian Pumper. Don't do it don't do anything that Grayson can get his hands on or Mary. You know what I mean? But you talk about a POS. He really is. He's a POS in the industry that he was in, for real. And then yeah, that's it, man. That's all I got.
For myself, for OG Pete, for PY, for Last Brinks, and all of us here at A2D Radio, we love you. As mad as we are about the Eagles, keep your head up. Keep your head up. And Don. Okay. He's so mad.
You are in hell.
There will be brighter days. We will see you next week. Peace.